Leading off episodically turns 21 as tonight, ESPO and I will reveal our latest MLB Power Rankings. We're ranking every team from number 30 to number 1. The first time we've done this since early June. Plus, ESPO has his pick of the day, and we unleash a brand new segment on the show based on Marvel? Find out more live tonight on Leading Off. And once again, we are live. This is the 21st episode of Leading Off, live from Studio 69 in New Jersey and REM Studio in Staten Island, New York, airing exclusively on Twitch and powered by StreamYard. As we're live tonight on this Monday, August the 23rd, 2021, I am your host, Nestor Cortes Jr., and I'm being joined by the man, the myth, the ESPO.
Thank you, Rich, or shall I say, Mr. Cortes Jr., as you've alluded to with that wonderful caterpillar located on the top of your face.
Oh,
Beautiful.
yes, and I want to hear it. I want to hear it all from the Twitch followers today, because obviously the Yankees are playing great ball, and of course it's great to rally around this beautiful-looking bastard right here, Nestor Cortes Jr., but man, he inspired such a look. So tonight, we're sporting the mustache, and we're feeling the vibes. We're happy. We're happy in Yankee Town. We got more to talk about later tonight on my other show, Savage in the Bronx. I won't gawk about the Yankees for longer, especially with my fellow Mets fan over here on the right side of your screen.
Hey, at least we're not the Orioles, okay? For all that's gone south for the Mets, at least we are not the friggin' Baltimore Orioles who would probably lose to the Somerset Patriots, if we're being honest.
They probably would. Patriots are playing good ball. We'll talk about the Birds and the rest of baseball in our power rankings tonight, Espo. We were really slacking hard. We haven't done the power rankings in a while, but we're going to get it done tonight. Our latest power rankings, which is pretty crazy because a lot of the teams that we had thought were doing great things back in June, ended up selling at the deadline and fell down our power rankings. So it's going to be fun to reveal that tonight. Also, before we get into our ducks on the pond, just a reminder, and it's a stupid one because 21 episodes later, kind of never really brought this up, but make sure you're subscribing to us on Twitch and downloading the app. Obviously, when you check out the show, via a link or on Twitter or whatnot, you can access the show. But if you're not subscribed to Twitch without that app, they won't let you know when our show is going live. So obviously that's a big deal of being on Twitch. So if you have the app, whether you download it for iOS or Android and you subscribe to us I think it's at Leading Off Podcast. I think I have it here at the bottom of the ticker. We got to wait. What is it going to say? I forgot already. Subscribe to us to Leading Off _podcast on Twitch. So make sure to download the app and then subscribe, and that's how you get your notifications at the top of your screen if you keep the notifications on. I know it's a lot, but that's the easiest way to listen in on the show.
An even shorter version of it, don't be a bitch. Follow us on Twitch.
I fucking love that. I don't know how Twitch hasn't made that their slogan by now.
We're copywriting it and trademarking it, so don't steal it from us, Twitch.
Don't be a bitch. Download Twitch and subscribe to us on Twitch as well. All righty, let's get into it. Ducks on the pond. We started with injuries as always, Espo. A couple of which not in our ticker because a couple of notes just came to my attention. Kenta Maeda placed on the 10-day IL. He's going down with right forearm tightness. Obviously, it's been a tough year for the Twinkies. They came off, again, another sweep. They came off against getting swept by the Yankees. I was going to say they swept the Yankees. They didn't get swept by the Yankees. It was the complete opposite. They haven't beat the Yankees since, I think, 2003 at this rate. So, yes, the Twinkies suffering the loss at the top of the rotation, Kenta Maeda on the IL. And another pitcher, big loss for a contending team, a team that could potentially go far into the postseason. The Giants losing Anthony DeSclafani to a right ankle inflammation. Two big starting pitchers going down for two different clubs that are in completely two different directions at this point of the season.
Rich, you have an uncanny ability to bring up injuries only of guys on my fantasy teams.
I know.
I don't know how you do it, but DeSclafani, of course, is a much bigger loss. Though they should have him back for October. It definitely hurts their standing right now, and I don't want to say chased with the Dodgers because they're currently in front, but the Dodgers, man, they're catching up, and I think this is just one more reason to think that the Dodgers will overtake them with a big blow to their pitching depth, the Giants.
I guess a possible spoiler alert to what ESPO is going to reveal in his power rankings later. We already have a comment. I said, guys, give it to me hard. I know I got this mustache going. I wouldn't even leave my fucking house with this thing on. Greg Kandari 11 in the chat. In honor of what is on Rich's face, what are the best stashes in MLB? That's definitely a future bracket down the line. But yes.
You'll be an honorable mention, Rich. Don't worry.
I would say, Raleigh Fingers is, I feel like, gotta be number one. I feel like that has to be, like, I should keep growing this. I say, fuck it, just grow it out and do the little curl at the end. Oh, that would be beautiful.
I'm a big Danny Espinosa guy. He had
that's a dirty looking thing he had. Oh my God, that was terrible. That was just a disgrace to mustaches everywhere. Speaking of other injuries, I don't even know what we were speaking. We weren't even speaking of injuries when we were talking about Danny Espinosa's mustache.
Injuries to your reputation with that mustache.
Fair.
There we go.
Good.
There's
Thank you for the save. I appreciate it. Let's talk crosstown injuries. Zach Britton also just placed on the 10-day IL with a left wrist sprain. Obviously, it's been a tough year for Britton to stay healthy, and when he is healthy, he's been struggling. He hasn't been the same Zach Britton. So maybe there has been some setback with his arm. He's had issues up and down his arm all season. So hopefully Britton can get that sorted out. And for the Mets, a positive note. Let's talk a positive note for the Mets. Noah Syndergaard is set to resume his rehab. Look at that. And Syndergaard coming off, of course, Tommy John surgery. And then he had a rough setback about a month or so ago, but it looks like Syndergaard is now back on track. Hopefully, for Mets' sake, maybe an impact in September.
I hope so, man. And to veer slightly off topic, I don't know if you've been following the weather lately, but New York City, it's been pretty crazy with this storm. I saw a clip of a lightning strike hitting the top of the Freedom Tower, which can only mean that Noah Syndergaard's return is imminent. And I think it's going to be a huge boost to the Mets. It sounds like he's going to be moved to the bullpen, and I think that's the perfect spot for him. Right now, you don't know what you would get out of him lengthwise as a starter, so I think putting him in the back end of that pen as a potential late inning stopper could be huge for the Mets. But we'll see. There's 7 back now, so might be too little too late at this point.
Right. I also just received a note. There was a picture just sent out of me, and they just said, keep this guy away from schools. So,
oh man, I was about to ask. Are you banned from the Little League World Series as well?
Yes, I'm banned from the Little League World Series. Yeah,
that's a shame.
I can't see the little kids play ball. Unfortunately, couldn't go to that game. All right, let's move on to our next note. Miguel Cabrera, congratulations to Miggy on his 500th career home run, becoming the 28th player in history to join the exclusive 500 home run club. First Tiger to also accomplish the feat. ESPO, what are our thoughts here on Miguel Cabrera, future Hall of Famer?
I think it's absolutely amazing. Miguel Cabrera, it's funny because he had been sitting on 499 for what felt like ages, but it was like 2 weeks, but felt like a lot longer. So I'm sure it's a tremendous weight off of his shoulders, and he's definitely in the closing stages of his Hall of Fame career, as you alluded to. But it's great for the game to see such a beloved player cross that milestone. And to cap that thought, I don't think we'll see another 500 home run guy for a while, unless Nelson Cruz can slug about 50 or so, and
50 plus home runs for him. And I don't know if
I don't know. He's the closest.
I don't know if he's got enough juice to do it, but it would be nice.
Pretty close, but he's old too, so might be a while.
Yeah, I could agree with you. I think there's a lot of guys who are on the fast track to get there, abide by any injuries or devastating blows. I think Trout's a good one to say, hey, that's a guy we could definitely see.
He's got to stay healthy, man. He's been
as long as he stays
healthy
healthy.
Last few years.
Correct, right. So it's a tough call, but yeah, I think you're right. I don't think it's going to be as stacked as it once was, from the mid 2000s to the mid 2010s. Where you had a bunch of 500 home run plateaus being crossed. I think that threshold's a little tougher now, given the state of baseball, the competitive edge, and the injuries and whatnot. So yeah, Miguel Cabrera, also a couple of notes here. He's still not done. He's got a couple upcoming milestones. He's two runs shy away from 1,500, 9 doubles away from 600, and 45 hits from 3,000. So Miguel Cabrera is still not done. He still
Can he get 3,000 in the same season as hitting 500? That would be remarkable. I mean, 43 hits, you said?
45 hits.
45.
And with that's a tough call. I don't know if he's going to get 45 hits by the end of September.
I mean, he's got to play next year, right? It would suck to see him retire with like 29.70 or something like that,
Got the new Stan Ross, Mr. 299.
I hope not.
2009.99. That's what I meant. More comments here. Core Ryan goes Trout if he stays healthy, as Espo just made a point to before. And Corey Favs, damn, I thought I was tuning on leading off, not a 70s adult film. So yeah, I got my Burt Reynolds on, my Nestor Cortes, and
Boogie Nights over here, huh?
It's a lot of fun. Yeah, Boogie Nights. Thanks, man. Last note here, very interesting note here. MLB PA has announced that they are letting their Topps licensing expire. There was notes that Fanatics was going to jump in as the new licensee for the MLB trading cards, and it appears, and Espo was doing some research before, it appears that seems to be a done deal now. The Fanatics looks like they're going to be getting the deal that Topps and the MLB PA had for over 70 years.
Yes, according to my sources at the Wall Street Journal, this deal was consummated about 3 days ago. My sources are Twitter. I am not connected with anyone at the Journal, as the folks say, even if I would like to be. Moving on. Yeah, that's that is a crazy note. I'm not going to really touch down on it. Obviously, I was a huge baseball card collector for the longest time, so Topps is always my go-to. I think it'll be interesting for those Diamond Dynasty players because the digital cards used in the game are the Topps cards. So it'll be interesting to see what's going to happen, in 2022 and moving forward. But yeah, that's an interesting license to let expire, and looks like MLB is ready to move on from Topps. So I mean, I think Topps could still produce baseball cards, but they just can't produce like the logos or whatnot. They just don't have the licensing for it. So crazy change for the MLB PA and baseball card collectors altogether. That's big.
Big stuff. All right, we're going to move on. We're going to move right along to our next bit here. And of course, Espo, it's your time to shine. It is your pick of the day. And Espo, you actually been doing pretty well lately.
Heating up, Rich.
In the Espo pick of the day. I think you're 2 for your last 2, right?
That is correct. So
we have a chance here to create a winning streak.
I'm hoping to keep this train rolling, and what better team to do it than the Houston Astros? Within their stadium, they actually have a train in the outfield. That's one of my favorite home team home run celebrations. Second to Bernie Brewer, of course. That's by far the best, but I digress. I'm going with the Astros tonight against the Royals. They did struggle last week against Kansas City. They did lose 3 out of 4, but I think over the weekend, the Astros kind of righted the ship with a good weekend series against the Mariners. They did lose yesterday, but I think they're poised to bounce back tonight in a big way. They got Zach Greinke on the bump, so I think the Astros are going to win this one running away. Give me the run line. They got to cover 1.5 runs, so 2 runs or more, and we will be winners. Let's go Stros.
Let's go Stros. Espo really taking a chance with the Houston Astros or the Kansas City Royals there. But hey, listen, it's all right. Core Ryan says, don't let Espo get hot. 1's an accident, 2's a trend, 3's a problem, and hopefully by the end of the night, it will be a problem. And Espo, of course, will tweet about it. So make sure to follow him at The Life of Espo on Twitter, and he's going to cover his Espo pick of the day and see if he wins. And speaking of Twitter, just keeping it rolling here. Yes, you can follow us at L Off Podcast. And for those of you who just tuned in right now, Espo, where can they follow you?
They can follow me, of course, at The Life of Espo. But, folks, you're going to want to follow Rich J. Rivera as well. One of the more premium accounts on Twitter.
At Rich J. Rivera. Premium account if you like seeing tweets every other month. So, yeah. Premium account. Got good stuff up there. All right. We're moving right along. All right. We're rushing through this, I know, but like we're gonna get into the ham and potato.
Meat and potatoes.
The meat and potatoes.
You could have ham if you wanted.
Ham's
I'm a
meat,
steak
but that's
guy,
disgusting. Ham and potatoes is great, but we'll do meat and potatoes. We're getting to the meat and potatoes. The MLB Power Rankings, and of course, this has been a first since what was it, June 7th of 2021.
Wow.
It was the last time ESPO and I did our power rankings, so we've been slacking hard. So this is the first time since then that we've done it. So a lot of the teams, you'll see like a graphic in a little bit of all the teams layout and their last ranking next to them. Some of them were very high at one point and now are really low. Again, we did this back all the way in June. So now here is the newly updated power rankings right here on leading off. We'll start it from 30 to 6 for each of us. And there's the landscape right there. And let's pick out a few. And we'll start off with the New York Mets. Why not?
Yeah.
I have the Mets at 17. ESPO has them even lower at 18. They were once ESPO, they were once in your top 5 when we did the power rankings early on in the year. It's been a tough fall for the New York Metropolitans, bud.
Rich, I'm just running out of words to describe the collapse of the last month plus for these New York Mets. To quote the great Chad Ochocinco, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And man, these guys have just been god awful at finishing games over the last, really since the All-Star break. They've just been a pitiful offense. They've had so many injuries, both pitching and they've had some injuries to the lineup as well, more minor. But obviously, losing Jacob deGrom was a devastating blow to this team that, quite frankly, they have not recovered from. And I'm running out of hope that they can recover from it. I mean, they're only 7 games out of the division, but the Braves, they finally seem to have woken up. They're going to be tough to catch. So the Mets, unfortunately, belong right where the record says they should belong. Mediocre, right in the middle.
Unfortunate times for the Mets, currently sitting in 3rd place in the NL East with a 61-63 record, and I'm sure by the June 7th, I gotta think they were in 1st place. That's why we had them so high in that division. So I mean, listen, it takes 1 or 2 good weeks, and who knows, they might be right there. But so, speaking of drops, we had the Cubs exceptionally low when we last did this. You had them at 11, I had them at 8. And, of course, they didn't really work out shortly thereafter. They ended up becoming sellers at the deadline. We have them at our 26 and 25 position, respectively. But here's some other interesting falls. The Red Sox and the Padres, they were consistent in the top 5, and they've fallen down a bit. It's kind of it's been a tough road for the Fathers and the Bo Sox, but I don't know, man. It's just like you got to think these teams are going to eventually crack a spot into the playoffs, but they've been playing some bad ball.
Right, and especially in the case of the Padres, I think their fall has been more disappointing because you consider the Red Sox, they've kind of been overachieving for much of the year. Expectations weren't as high as they were for the Padres, considering all the offseason moves that were made. But for the Padres, man, just what a terrible collapse. And hey, we got to give credit where credit's due. The Cincinnati Reds have been one of the best ball clubs in the National League since the All-Star break, and they have clawed their way back into this race. And as of this moment, I believe they're ahead of the Padres in the wild card, which is pretty crazy if you think about, a month, 2 months ago, it seemed like it was a lock that those 3 teams from California were going to be in the playoffs running away.
The Reds a full game ahead of the Padres in the NL wild card race. That is nuts. And, the Reds got an interesting team, to say the least. That offense led by Castellanos and a reinvigorated Joey Votto. It's been a good year for Cincinnati, a year they weren't expecting. And, obviously you can't talk more about some of the top teams, which we're going to get into in a little bit as we now reveal our number 5 to number 1, Mr. ESPO. And obviously, it hasn't really changed so much at the very, very top. We still kept the Dodgers, the Giants, and the Rays relatively in the top 5 or, towards the top 5. since we've started the rankings. You feel a little bit differently, though. You have the Dodgers at number 1. I have the Giants at number 1, really keeping up to that old rivalry between the two NL West teams. Why the Dodgers over the Giants when the Giants have the better record?
This was so tough. Out of every ranking I had to figure out, determining who was 1 and who was 2 was by far the hardest decision, because these teams are both just in a class of their own this year. But I have to go with the Dodgers. Yes, the Giants are ahead of them in the standings by, I believe, 2.5 games now. That lead is shrinking, and I think it's going to continue shrinking. And I'm looking at which is the most powerful team right now. And to me, it's still the Dodgers. Their depth is still second to none. Obviously, they've had some injuries, and they've had some guys be ineffective, like Cody Bellinger. He's had a down year, but obviously he's still dangerous. You're having him as your 8th hitter. That's not a team I want to face right now. That's not a team I want to face in October. I think they're going to catch the Giants.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I can't just look at 80 wins and not give the Giants credit where credit is due. The Giants have surprised everyone, and they've stayed afloat. We went from possibly a small sample size to, hey, you know what? I think you got a bunch of guys who are just playing the game differently. And guess what? This team has really pulled it together. They've played well. They have made big acquisitions that they needed to at the deadline, and they're still staying on top of that division. Yes, the Dodgers are closing in. You know, I mentioned this last week on the show. I think now it's like every series is important. And soon enough, when September 1st rolls around, now every game becomes important. But I think when it comes to the National League West, I think every game becomes important starting now, starting ASAP. I think every game matters because, you know, you got to think that the Padres are going to try to find a way to scratch and claw and get to that second wild card spot. I said earlier on that, hey, I only imagine that the NL West is going to have 3 teams represented in the playoffs. And despite Cincinnati's great effort right now, the Padres are a team that's going to be sneaky. Now, I also have to give somewhat credit to where credit is due to a guest of ours, Joe Puglisi, a reoccurring guest of Leading Off, who earlier in the year had said the Dodgers were going to finish the division at least 10 games over the Padres, which at the time we all thought he was nuts. We all thought there's no way.
Now he's right.
The Padres are a team that are going to be a threat. The Padres, if they're not a first-place team, they're going to be right behind the Dodgers. And right now, the Dodgers 78-47, the Padres 68-58. So yeah, the Padres are chasing the Dodgers by a few games. Could that lead grow a little bit? Yes. Could that lead decrease? Yes. Anything can change within a month, but right now, Mr. Puglisi is sitting pretty high with that bet. So Dodgers 78-47, the Padres 68-58. Des Dutch says Big Red Machine. And yes, the Big Red Machine, again, we got to give credit to credit's due with Cincinnati Reds. They've been playing good ball. But again, there's our top 5.
Joey Votto. Votto's just got to show love to the man Joey Votto. Everyone thought, myself included, that he was done for, washed up, and the man is – if the Reds can sneak into the playoffs, that man's going to be deserving of some MVP votes, is all I'm going to say.
Oh, yeah. I'm about to pour one out for Joey Votto over here. Just opened up a claw. But here we go. Top 5 once again. ESPO, Astros 5, Brewers 4, Rays 3, Giants 2, Dodgers 1. I got the Yankees at 5. I'm obviously playing up to the fact that they've had I think you just mentioned before, last 30, Braves and Yankees have the best record over the last 30 days. They've really done a hell of a job in this last month.
What do you know? They're playing each other tonight. How beautiful
and
is
look at that. They're playing each other tonight. First time since 1901, 2-9-0, 2 9-game winning streaks collide. Braves, Yankees, which actually I think just got underway 4 minutes ago in Atlanta and Truist Park. Yankees at 5, Brewers 4, Rays at 3, Dodgers 2, Giants 1. And those are the power rankings, and they're pretty good. I mean, again, I think compared to what the last time we did this, you're now seeing what the playoff picture is looking like. You know, obviously early in the year, anything can happen, and certainly anything did happen. And the teams you thought that were going to stay up top did not. The teams you thought were going to, fall on their face, made a comeback, and it's been wild. And you know what? I got to give one more team I want to shout out. They're not on my top 5. I know they're on your top 5, but the Houston Astros, goddamn, man. The Houston Astros are just saying, fuck you all. We're playing with the biggest chip on our shoulder, and they're all doing great. I think they lead. I think they still lead in batting average in the league or something. I got to catch that before I sound like an idiot. But the Astros are playing great ball. They're still without.
You're about to say it. I'm sorry.
Go for it. You say it.
Alex Bregman.
I was going to say without Justin Verlander, and their pitching still has been great. But yes, they've been missing the former MVP, Alex Bregman, as well. Yes.
Now, is Verlander expected back for October? Because, man, that would just be huge. But I'm not sure. I thought he was not going to be back until next spring, but I'll have to double check that. In either case, getting Bregman back.
Do lead the league. Sorry, they lead baseball in batting average. 268 batting average. OPS 783, also a leader. Tied for the lead in OPS, actually, with the Blue Jays. So look at that. Houston.
They're also missing the garbage can, according to our good friend.
Also missing the garbage can. So hey, credit to them. I can't say enough. They're definitely playing. They're playing good ball. All the credit to them. Altuve is looking incredible this year. But yeah, good ball. Hate them, but playing good ball. What else can I say? All righty. Well, we'll move on from the power rankings. I could have gawked more about the Yankees, but I'm going to do that at 8 p.m. Eastern time on Twitch, on Savages in the Bronx, hosted by yours truly, my co-host Tom Bosswell. You can follow us at Savages Bronx. Now, this is where I draw everybody into the room. Obviously, I'm sporting the Nestor. I'm sporting the Nestor molester on my face right now. Now, I'm going to tell you guys right now, if the Yankees by 8:30, which is when we usually end the show, we usually end Savage in the Bronx. If the Yankees are losing that game to the Braves by 8:30 p.m., I'm going to take this fucking razor and I'm going to shave my goddamn face on the air. So make sure to tune in. Savage in the Bronx. I'm going to shave this fucking ferret off my goddamn face if the Yankees are losing by 8:30. Now, by the way, I'm probably going to shave this anyway later tonight, but it will happen. It's a matter of it will happen on the air or not. So the only way to find out is to tune in 8 p.m. Eastern time on Twitch.
Oh, man. I'm rooting for the Yankees to win tonight as a Mets fan, but dear baseball guys, please make the Braves be winning the game by 8:30. That's all I ask.
The stakes couldn't be any higher, Espo. The stakes could be any higher. God, I have issues, man.
Nestor. With a name like that, you deserve a mustache like that.
Yes, Nestor. Absolute fucking stud right there. There he is. There he is, everybody. Nestor Cortes Jr. A fucking
leading off legend.
A future Hall of Famer, if there ever was one. Nestor Cortes. Another comment in the chat. Greg Kandari 11. I think you should have to leave it if they are losing. All right. And Des Dutch goes, how about Espo? What's it going to take for him to shave? There you go.
The Mets to be in first place. Oh, so in that case, I'm not shaving until next year.
Oh God! All right, let's move on. And we're gonna bring on a new segment, and I'm actually gonna shout out a couple people because sometimes these ideas we come up with are originals. This one is not. This one is an idea that was brought on from some people who are actually in their chat. So shout out to Core Ryan. And Greg Kandari 11 and Jay Hertz, who's usually been in the chat before. Shout out to all three of those guys. Great supporters of the show, great friends of the show. Thank you guys for tuning in. Our show segment now, What If? Now, what is What If? And if you're a fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you know that Disney Plus just released this animated series connected to the MCU, which explores the multiverses and all the different realities and basically different ways of how the stories that you saw in the Marvel comic movies play out differently if something else had happened. So we're going to obviously remix this to a baseball conversation, Espo. And every week or maybe every other week, we're just going to make this a reoccurring deal. We're going to come up with a different scenario as a community because it shouldn't just be up to me and Espo all the time. And we're going to come up with a different scenario that happened in baseball history and talk about if something had changed along the line and the impact it would have had on a certain team, on the league, on the game itself. This is What If, presented by Leading Off. Tonight's topic is going to be a fun one. And by the way, I'll also be paying attention to your comments. And if you guys want to do different what ifs every week, I'm going to be looking into the comments, and whatever has the most amount of steam, that's the one we'll do next week. So I want to see your what ifs as well, what scenarios you guys also want to see. Greg Kadari goes, you could shave if they are winning. Otherwise, you need to keep it until next week. I don't know if I want to do that. I don't know if I want to do that at all. The lady will not be happy about it.
I don't think your girlfriend's going to approve.
All right. Anyway, let's get into it. What if Aaron Boone never played basketball on January 16th, 2004? Now, here's the story for those of you who don't know. Aaron Boone was at the time contracted to the New York Yankees. He was set to be their third baseman. This was following, of course, his epic walk-off home run in Game 7 of the ALCS against the Red Sox in 2003. Aaron Boone goes against his contract, actually, this is crazy because I found this out early before the show that I didn't even think it was against contract. He violated the standard MLB player contract, which forbids a player from taking part in off-season basketball, skiing, and surfing. And by doing so, he tore a ligament in his left knee, which was going to rule him out for the rest of the season. So the Yankees, of course, were without a third baseman. They ended up making the trade for Alex Rodriguez from the Texas Rangers. Also, another side story, the Red Sox had a deal done with Alex Rodriguez before Aaron Boone tore his ligament. And of course, the MLBPA, they denied the deal. They turned the deal away because A-Rod was trying to decrease the value of his contract illegally. And of course, they rejected the deal. It didn't happen. The Red Sox were already naming him the team captain of the team. So A-Rod was about to be a Boston Red Sox. So here is, again, the what-if scenario. What if Aaron Boone never played basketball on January 16th, 2004? Well, easy enough. The first thing, the what if, this doesn't happen. A-Rod is not a Yankee because obviously they would have just stuck with the guy they had. And at the time, Alex Rodriguez was a shortstop and the big superstar in the game. There wasn't a need for his position because, of course, the man on the right in the nice looking blue tie was the Yankees' generational shortstop. So that doesn't happen. That's the easy one, ESPO. But I guess to keep playing into this, let me talk to you. So that doesn't happen. Does A-Rod stay with the Texas Rangers, or do the Red Sox kind of step up their approach and try to get the trade done legally to bring A-Rod to Boston?
Yeah, I'd have to think that the Rangers were hell-bent on trading A-Rod in 2004, no matter which team it was. So I do think that ultimately the Red Sox and the Rangers would have worked something out. So unfortunately for the Red Sox, or maybe fortunately for them, they did end up winning three titles later this century. But the rest, as they say, is history. So it's really interesting to think about how the courses of not just A-Rod's career, but a lot of players' careers could have been drastically different. There was a lot of players that were potentially involved in one trade and ultimately were involved in the actual trade. Do tell, Rich, what were the potential parameters of that Rangers-Red Sox trade again?
Which is exactly what I was going to get into next, the parameters of the possible deal. Now, obviously, this image circulated around because this image was going to be fact. Manny Ramirez was supposed to go in that deal to the Texas Rangers. Boston was obviously going to get A-Rod. But an interesting piece of this deal that was also going to go to Texas was a 19-year-old left-handed pitching prospect named John Lester. So let's just say this deal gets done. They ended up making the deal. Manny, Lester, they go in. I don't know about the cash considerations because, again, there is the voluntary reduction in salary. But that's the deal that happened. So Lester and Manny end up with Texas. A-Rod ends up in Boston. And that's your deal. So the Red Sox get their man at shortstop. He's the guy that potentially you think is going to be part of this World Series run in 2004. The Yankees are without A-Rod. They still have a healthy Aaron Boone. They don't know what kind of productivity you're getting out of Boone. Of course, he's a light-handed hitting, right-handed third baseman. So the Yankees, of course, are missing that firepower. The Rangers improve with two big positions that are going to help them for the next few years. Manny Ramirez, of course, I think was productive for, most of the 2000s. And then John Lester, of course, merges in 2006, 2007. So
something like that.
yeah,
I'm
so
thinking
it is
way
a
far
wild
ahead
ride.
here, Rich. But I'm thinking about the career of John Lester. What if he falls in love with pitching in Texas and he stays there his whole career? The Cubs don't sign John Lester. They probably don't win the World Series, and there's a whole bunch of other ripple effects. So it's
That's what I'm
crazy to think
saying, and
about. But
and this is what it should be about. It shouldn't be about, hey, this is the short term. This is what would have happened. There's long-term effects that are going to affect multiple teams for the next few years of this trade, or rather, if Boone doesn't get hurt playing fucking basketball in 2004. That one little thing of him playing basketball in 2004 had changed
the
the course of
butterfly
fucking
effect.
history, because
Amazing.
this was going to happen. This would have eventually have happened at some point. And whether the Rangers and Red Sox would have moved towards a deal before that season started in 2004, or better yet, maybe would have happened at the trade deadline of that year, because, obviously you've seen over the last few years, rumors start circulating in the winter meetings. We try to get a feel of who's going to go where and what trade partners we can have. And then by the deadline of that following year, a deal can happen. So it's a strong possibility that I think, and I think if history would have foretold, I think A-Rod would have been a Red Sox. I think that would have happened. I just don't see him staying with the Texas Rangers for that, for the money that Texas did not have to pay him. But the implications short term, obviously we know A-Rod has had his struggles in the postseason. And I don't know if A-Rod would have been a detriment to that Red Sox 2014 that did win the World Series without him.
There's just so many directions that this can veer off to, and we're really going down the rabbit hole. You could really do this all day with just this theoretical scenario, but perhaps the biggest implication of them all, Rich, if A-Rod doesn't get traded to the Yankees, does he ever hook up with J-Lo? The burning question, Rich.
I don't know, man. Probably not. I guess not. I mean, Jenny from the Bronx. Yankees,
have dated a Red Sox, It just
I think that. But then again, who was who was a smoke show Bostonian, if I had to say so? Who was somebody that A-Rod could have hooked up with? That's maybe a Boston native.
I don't know. I don't keep up with the babes of New England, man. That was not me in the mid 2000s, and it's still not me. Anyways, okay, final implication of this trade or Aaron Boone never playing basketball and never getting hurt.
Okay.
If Aaron Boone never plays basketball and gets hurt, maybe this podcast doesn't happen, Rich. And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
I fell in love with baseball when I started watching it first in the 2004 ALDS, Yankees and Red Sox. And obviously we know how that series unfolded. It was a historical series. If the Red Sox have A-Rod, not the Yankees, who knows how the balance of power would have shifted. And we probably don't get the amazing series that it was. And, sure, maybe I still end up falling in love with baseball, but I know that was the series that got me into the game. And that trade never happened. Who the hell knows, man? I'm glad it did, though.
Yeah, it's wild to think of. I also we could talk on the implications of the Yankees. Would the Yankees would have benefited from A-Rod not being a distraction? Derek Jeter, of course, obviously had the close friendship with A-Rod, and then that kind of fizzled when A-Rod became a Yankee. Maybe having that distraction off the team would have benefited Derek Jeter's career even more. Obviously, he's a Hall of Famer. Maybe he would have been a 100% Hall of Famer without A-Rod and without the distraction, without that shadow that was right by him. I mean, it's a wild thought. Who could have played third base for the Yankees? What free agents would have emerged for that team over time? Yes, it's a lot to get into. We can go down the rabbit hole, but we can do that next week with a different topic. Obviously, there are a lot of great ones in our chat that we can possibly discuss. And I will tell you right now, the one I really wanted to pick on out of them all is the Mets 2006. Since we talked about the Yankees, I want to get into the 2006 Mets. There's two of them I really like. But we're going to go with Corey Fabs is here, former co-host of this show, former special co-host of the show. What if Dwaner Sanchez didn't get into a taxi accident in 2006? That will be next week's, or whenever we do this next. it will be the next What If on this show. We want to get the Mets involved here.
I'm just going to tease that and say I would probably be a millionaire and I would be married with children by now, and society would probably be better off if the Mets won that World Series. Okay, we're not going to go down that road. Anyways.
We'll save it for next time. And until next time, 7 p.m. Eastern time, right here on Twitch. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you all for joining in and your participation as always on Twitch. Thanks for your follows on Twitter. Thank you, ESPO, for being a great co-host as always. Good luck on the pick of the day. And again, if you guys want to watch me shave my mustache on Twitch, there's a possibility of that happening at Savages of the Bronx, 8 p.m. Eastern time as well. I'll see you guys next week. Well, we'll see you guys here next week. Once again, take care.